good point. Speak to that just a minute. In your preparation during your single time, your single life, how important was it for you to find someone who was a believer? I mean, where did that rank in your ladder of importance?
Sure. One thing my parents had told me to do, I think all of us kids, to do is to make a list and prioritize that list of what we want in a spouse. And I still have it. I was actually thinking, oh man, I wish I would have brought that, but I had typed it up on my phone, and I'm glad I have it because I was just looking at it, and the first one says, a man who loves Jesus more than me. And then my next one was a spiritual leader. And the next one was a servant's heart. And my gosh, the Lord so completely answered my prayers. And I think when we are desiring the things that the Lord wants for us, He is so happy to give those things
Amen.
to you.
That's a good point. Amen.
The first thing, and I love this story, I'm just so thankful that I can always keep this. Before I knew Ricky, I was on a missions trip with one of his friends, and the first thing that I ever connected to Ricky's name, the first thing out of his friend's mouth about Ricky was, he is a man going after God with all his heart. If that is not the best thing, I mean, his friend who was just speaking about Ricky, that was the first thing he said. And so, number one, number two, number three, checked off. So I'm just so thankful that I can keep that in my heart, and I'm so thankful.
Yeah, it was kind of the same thing with me almost. You know, I don't know if you guys, some of you guys know this or not. Growing up, our parents always told us we couldn't date until we finished college. And we thought that was unrealistic. And so, you know, there were times where we, you know, my sisters and I, we definitely, you know, we were disciplined for a lot of our actions. You know, there were times where, you know, we thought we were grown. We were 13, we were 14, and we had little boyfriends and girlfriends. You know, we thought we were gonna get married, and we hid that from our parents. And you know, they found out and everything. But I remember there was a situation where I was in. We just moved here to Texas, and I kind of found myself in a lonely place only because when we first moved here, I questioned the fact whether or not we should be here. Things weren't turning out the way they were supposed to. The house wasn't ready. We were living in a motel for weeks, a month maybe, and while we were going to school, the environment, the culture here is so much more different compared to Hawaii. And I was like, you know, Lord, I don't know if you know you have it planned for us to be here. Long story short, I felt like at that point I really dedicated my life to the Lord, and especially in dating because I've experienced such hurt, such you know heartache. I said, you know what, Lord, I feel like you know you're changing my perspective on how dating should be. So the number one priority is that she has to love you. She has to love you. She can't just say that she loves you. She has to show it. She has to show it in her actions. She can't just be a churchgoer. She has to serve. And for the longest time, I couldn't date anyone because there were very few people that qualify for what I desire. You know, in my future girlfriend, my future fiance, my future now wife, they just didn't, you know, meet those expectations. They didn't, you know, there was a checklist, and yeah, maybe they're cute, maybe they're funny, but you know that will only last for so long. And so for a long time, I literally had friends tell me, you know, Ricky, why aren't you dating anyone? You know, I mean, is there no girl, you know, good enough out there for you? There's no girl like you? And no, that wasn't the case, not at all. It's just that, hey, because you know we've experienced such hurt, such hurt and such heartache. I really felt the Lord just saying, you know, Ricky, you don't want to waste your time. This isn't something that you can just go ahead and do. There's time, there's preparation, there's a maturity level that you have to reach in order to understand exactly what dating is and what I'm preparing you for. And because, man, you know, so I waited for Ashley, I did, and things turned out great. They did.
Amen. Amen. So